Good morning, students. Welcome to the class of science. We continue the topic combustion and flame, this chapter, part 2. This is the part 2 of combustion and flame. Now, the next is how to control the fire. When the fire is there, what are the steps, how can we control it? Before going to this, you must recall what are the conditions for combustion. The condition of combustion, the first one is we just correlate that the presence of combustible substance. This is the first condition of combustion. If we remove the combustible substance, definitely we can control the fire. So the first step is by removing the combustible substance. If the substance is burning, we can remove it, so the fire will be extinguished. Second is cut off the supply of oxygen. The most important condition that the combustion will take place in the presence of oxygen. Oxygen is supporter of combustion. If we cut the supply of oxygen, by any means the fire will be extinguished. We will control the fire. The third one is lowers down of ignition temperature. The combustion can be occur only when a combustible substance must be heated up to its ignition temperature. So if we lower down the temperature of a combustible substance, we lower down the ignition temperature, the fire will be extinguished. So these are the 3 steps by which we can control the fire. Now, you know that it is very common practice when a person is having fire, it is catching fire, so you wrap the blanket. आप blanket लपेट देते हैं. Why? What is the purpose of wrapping that person in the blanket? Because when we wrap the person in the blanket, we cut the supply of oxygen. Sometimes when the fire is there, we just throw the water on that. Why we throw the water? By throwing the water, we are lowering down the ignition temperature. We are cooling the combustible substance. Now, next is fuels. We have discussed what are the fuels. Fuels are the combustible substance which on heating produce heat and light, heat and energy. We can say there are 3 types of fuel: solid, liquid and gaseous fuel. What are the solid fuel? The fuel which are solid at room temperature, they are called the solid fuels. And what are the liquid fuels? The fuels which are liquid at room temperature are called liquid fuel. And the gaseous fuels which are gases at room temperature. You know. The example of solid fuel: coal is there, coke is there, paraffin wax is there, animal dung cake is there. There are so many. Liquid fuel: petrol is there, diesel is there, kerosene oil is there. Gaseous fuel: CNG, LPG, biogas. These all are the example of gaseous fuel. Now, what is the composition of fuel? Basically, the fuel are made up of carbon and hydrocarbon. What are the fuel which are made up of carbon? The coal, coke, paraffin wax. In the paraffin wax, the hydrogen is present. In the coal and coke, the carbon is present on it in this. And when we burn them, they produce carbon dioxide. What is hydrocarbon? As the name indicates, the substance which contain hydrogen as well as carbon. All the petroleum product which we have done in the previous chapter, we have done the fractional distillation of petroleum. The various constituents which releases, they are the hydrocarbons. When the hydrocarbons are burned, LPG is there, petrol is there, diesel is there. These are the hydrocarbon. When they burn, they produce carbon dioxide as well as water vapors. Now, the most important thing in the case of fuel is calorific value. How we say that a fuel is good, a fuel is bad, it is an ideal fuel, it depends on the most important point. There are other factors also. The most important factor is calorific value of fuel. What is the meaning of calorific value? The calorific value of the fuel is that the amount of energy produced when 1 unit of fuel burn in the presence of oxygen. It means when the amount of energy produced when a fuel is burned completely, the presence of oxygen shows the complete combustion. That is the energy produced when the fuel burn, it gives the calorific value of that fuel. We have done the different types of fuel: solid fuel, liquid fuel and gaseous fuel. Among these fuels, the gaseous fuel have high calorific value. In your book on page number 90, the table is given in which the calorific value of the fuel is given. You will see that the gaseous fuel, among all the three fuel, the gaseous fuel having high calorific value. In the case of liquid fuel, the kerosene, petrol and diesel also have the good calorific values. Now we come to the very important substance, that is hydrogen. Hydrogen is a gas. It has the highest calorific value, but we cannot use the hydrogen for the domestic purposes. Why? We cannot use the hydrogen for the domestic purposes. It is considered to be the best fuel because of its highest calorific value, and it is also non-polluting fuel. It does not create pollution, it does not produce the harmful gases, but it is very difficult when we when we tackle with the hydrogen. It is very risky because the hydrogen, when it burns, it explodes. It can explode, and that's why we cannot use it at domestic level and all the industrial purposes. When it mixed with the air, it explodes, and it is not useful and purposeful and safe for the domestic fuel. Now, what is an ideal fuel? What are the characteristics of an ideal fuel? You know that the ideal fuel is that fuel which have, definitely we have discussed, highest calorific value, and it should be readily available, easily available, and it can be ignited easily and gives put off easily also. It should burn at a moderate rate. ऐसा नहीं हो कि वो एकदम से आग पकड़ ले. It should burn at the moderate rate, and it also release the energy or heat in controlled manner. It should be safe in handling, safe in transportation, and safe to store also. So these are the characteristics of ideal fuel, and when we see there are so many fuel and we check the characteristics, we find LPG and CNG are the ideal fuel. Now, what happens when the fuel burns? What are the adverse effects of the burning of fuel on the environment? We will discuss this, that how the harmful gases are releases when the fuel burns. You know that mostly when the fuel burns, there is release of carbon dioxide. When the fuel burns, there is release of carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide leads to global warming, you know that. It gives, when any carbon fuel or any hydrocarbon burns, it may be petrol, diesel, it may be coke, it may be coal, it releases the carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide is the major cause of global warming. So it has the adverse effect on the environment. Secondly, and this carbon dioxide, if it is in controlled manner, it is not considered as a pollutant, but its percentage is increasing, that's why it leads to global warming. Second is acid rain. When the vapors of sulfur dioxide gas, nitrogen dioxide gas releases in the atmosphere, they releases and they goes to the upper atmosphere and they combine with the water vapor, they form the acid. SO2 react with water to form sulfurous acid, H2SO3. SO3 react with water to form sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Same, nitrogen dioxide react with water to form nitric acid. So these acid, when mixes with the rainwater and comes to the earth, they form the acid rain, and the acid rain is harmful for all the living organism, aquatic organism. It is also harmful for the vegetation. So these are the adverse effect of the burning of fuel, because the SO2 and NO2 is also releases by burning petrol and diesel. It also releases from the refinery. The third one is about the incomplete combustion. You know that when the fuel burns completely, there is release of carbon dioxide, and when it burns incomplete, there is release of carbon monoxide, CO. Carbon monoxide is a harmful gas. When we inhale it, what happens? When we inhale it, it mixes with the blood and forms the harmful compound carboxyhemoglobin. Carboxyhemoglobin. And this carboxyhemoglobin does not allow the oxygen to go inside. It resists the supply of oxygen in the body. And sometimes if the continuous inhalation of carbon monoxide is there, it leads to death. So in this way, these are the harmful effects of the burning of fuel. And you know that simple problem, headache and lung congestion is also one of the major effect of burning of fuel in the atmosphere. Now dear student, we have completed the topic up to page number. We have completed up to page number 91. You have to read the chapter, you have to see the table given in the book. There are some application based questions in the book. You have to do that. And in the next live class, we will discuss all the question and we'll do the further topic. Thank you. Have a good day.